Mr. DoItAll, first of all, I'd like to welcome you to Conversations.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. What's going on with you?
I'm good, man. Just sitting here in Ohio trying to keep warm.
Always 10. I'm sitting here
Yeah,
in Newark, New Jersey, trying to do the same thing, man.
there it is. There it is. Yeah, I'm about 45 minutes south of Cleveland in Canton.
Oh, you in Canton? All right. Shout out to everybody in Canton, man. I
Yeah,
got
Pro
family
Football Hall of
in Cincinnati. You know, I got family in Cleveland, definitely.
Yeah, you gotta come to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, my brother.
Hey, man, I would love to. I would
There it
love
is.
to, man. You know, might have a good time.
You will have a good time. I
No doubt.
guarantee you that. Guarantee you that.
Word. We
All
got to
right,
do
well,
that then.
absolutely, we'll make it happen.
Word.
I
Shout out
want to
to
start
everybody
out
that's
with
on live, too, man.
your introduction to hip hop. What got you motivated to be like, all right, I want to start spitting?
My introduction to hip hop, man, came from my Uncle Daryl. So my Uncle
Hmm.
Daryl, he was in the Army when he was, I guess I'm figuring 19, maybe to 22 or something like that. And he came home. When he came home from the Army, he needed a place to live. So he went to his sister, who was my mother, and he got the extra room. But in that extra room just didn't come my Uncle Daryl. It came with a 12-inch vinyl of Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang. It came with a
Uh-huh.
shoebox with two praying mantis in it that he used to fight. And it came with a yellow manila envelope full with some wacky tobacco. So I would hear him play this record while he was fighting his praying mantis and smoking his bud. And all I thought was that this record did not sound like what my mother was playing in the living room, which was Shaka Khan, Marvin Gaye, and
Right.
James Brown, and Sam and Dave, and all of that type of stuff. Evelyn Champagne King, So I was flip flopping from the living room soul to this new sound down the hall in my uncle's room, and that was my first introduction to hip hop because I wanted to find everything else that matched that type of sound. So I started
Right.
to find the breakdancing. I started to find the graffiti. I started to find the MCing, and then realized that these guys were just rappers. They weren't the real, well, you can't say that about all of them, but they took the core of the underground, and they took that and ran with it, Master G, and they took all of that. So Grandmaster Caz, he's spelling Caz's name out in the record. You know what I
Right.
mean? So when I found all of that, man, I fell in love with the culture and then trying all of the elements at one time and finding out what and I just fell in
Mhm.
love with just being an MC.
So what was the vibe like in Newark? As far as hip hop when you in high school, like what was the hip hop culture like?
Oh, it was a budgeting thing. You know what I mean? It was just developing, probably like it was across many cities all across the world. For me, it was the mid to late 80s is when I started to really. 79 is when I fell in love with when I started to explore it. But falling in love with it, man, probably came around 82-ish, 83-ish for me. And
Okay.
that's me being a young kid, not even a teenager yet.
Right.
So I fell in love with it really early. And then while becoming a teenager, that's when I started to develop and master the craft and explore educating, learning the craft.
And what was your first group? Like, all right, we about to do this rap thing, put it together, like your homies from around the way.
Man,
Who were those guys?
my first group, man, God bless the dead, my cousin Baron. B, if my other cousin B is on here, his brother, shout out to you. But my cousin Baron, he was a DJ. His friend Double S, Sean, rap too. So he was like, yo, I need another MC. All of us modeled ourselves after Run DMC. So you had
Right.
to have two MCs and a DJ. That's
Yeah.
why you think Laws of the Underground is 2 MCs and a DJ. You know, because we
Okay.
model that same, we take that same role when it comes to following or mimicking, you know, Run DMC. So,
Right.
you know, the true MCs, we called ourselves TMC, the true MCs. So I went from that group, the true MCs, to I'm sorry, I went from, they were called the Undercover Rockers, they were called UCR. Then I went from
Okay.
that to Suicide Sal, my man MC Martin, Suicide Sal, God bless the day, he's going to, and my man Martin, and we called ourselves the True MCs. And then after
Mm.
True MCs, I went to me as the MC, Redman as the DJ, and I had dancers, my man Rockman and Dorian.
Gotta have the dancers.
Hey,
Gotta.
at that time I was trying to model myself after Big Daddy Kane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then it changed. It became the one MC. But really, now look, Redman was my DJ. So really, we, you know, I was the front MC, but man, he was just a beast on the freestyling tip, as he could have MC'd any time as he did. So that's my journey of going from group to group, and then just being a solo artist and getting in school, meeting Marley Marl's cousin, Derek L.A. Jackson, who does all of the managing of the marketing for Lil Wayne to
Mhm.
Nicki. You know, he found the Roots. He found Laws of the Underground. He managed Coolio's career, and he also made Scott Storch famous. You know, they made millions and millions of dollars off of Scott Storch producing hits. So that's the guy who put us on to the game, introduced us to the game, and we became Lords of the Underground. But we became Lords of the Underground. That wasn't our first name. We didn't really have a name yet, and the Juice Crew were on tour. And my man,
Mhm.
Tragedy Gaddafi, Intelligent Hoolum, said that he was an underground lord, or he was an underground lord, and he was a lord of the underground, something like that. And
Yeah.
Marley looked at us and was just like, "Yo, that's y'all name, Lords of the Underground." So that's how we got the name.
Wow. So what was the vibe like being at Marley's place, man? At the studio, like, you know, you fresh off the streets, you young in the game, and you lounging with Marley Marl. What was that whole experience like?
Man, it was a euphoric experience, man. You like, come on, come on. I like you talking about Marley Marl.
Yes.
I'm barely a teenager. I'm listening to him and Mr. Magic on the radio every Friday. You know what I mean? Red Alert is down the dial.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing all of the new exclusives. I'm pause recording with my tape recorder.
Yes.
You understand? Like, I'm in it. It's like, I guess even if you don't like hip hop and you're a youthful person, you probably rushed home to see cartoons after school, or you wake up early on Saturday and watch cartoons, or you
Yeah.
rushed home to watch your favorite show or video music box or whatever it was. You know, this is that. That's Marley
Yeah.
Marl, Friday nights. You know what I mean? We not going nowhere as a teenager. Plus, our mothers and them didn't want us out there in the streets like that anyway. So we're recording
Right.
Marley Marl. So now, when I get the opportunity to come to the house of hits that I've been hearing on all of these records, from Bismarcky, Big Daddy Kane, Coogee Rap, Roxanne Shante, to all of the remixes of Shaka Khan, and he's the first one to sample and all of that type of stuff. We pull up upstate New York, you know, when we just 3 young kids in college. So we pull up in DJ Lord Jazz. We used to call it the Baby Jag, but it was really a beat up uh, Corolla. You know, it had cancer on the side and everything. We used to push that like 9 hours from Raleigh, North
Yeah.
Carolina to upstate New York. You know, so we
Wow.
get there, and we see this upstate New York. It's in a ritzy neighborhood. You know, it doesn't seem like a studio would be here. And we see this big white house on the corner. You know, when I started getting in real estate, I know those corner lots, they cost a little bit more. You know, I didn't know that then, but he's on the corner.
Yeah.
We pull into the driveway. It's kind of a long, lengthy driveway. All red cars. Red BMW convertible, red Pathfinder, red Saab. I believe it might have been, no, it was four-door, red four-door Saab.
Yeah.
So Marley had on his house, Marley had the Ring before the Ring was even out. He had a box like a bell. You press the bell, it rings, and he can see you and talk to you. That's what the Ring is, right?
Wow.
Marley had that. This is 1990. You know what I mean? So
and that's crazy.
yeah, hey, this is my real story. And then the garage opens up. When he seizes us, the garage opens up. It's an 850, a red 850 that you might remember on the album covers. You know what I mean? The In Control album cover, red 850, right on the or was that the 500? One of them, but right in the driveway. Records everywhere in the driveway, crates of records.
Man,
you hear a rumbling of the studio when you first walk in. Now that it's all soundproof, but once the garage opens, you start hearing the music, and all we heard was that was the melody, right? So it's me, Lord Jazz, and Funky Man, and Marley. When you walk in the downstairs, you see Studio A. It's all glass windows right there. And then right behind you is Studio B. And then it's a Pac-Man machine or Galaga machine or whatever. I think it was Miss Pac-Man machine right there that we used to all play on. We walk in the Studio A. It's this skinny kind of, cut up dude who's under the SSL. Now, mind you, back then, Marley Marl and Teddy Riley is the only one that have SSLs in their homes. It's $1 million board, So they were the only two in New York City to have those in their homes. So it's a guy that's under the board. He's in between two speakers. Bell can go on. Wife beater. Turn down the music. Yo, Ty, I want you to meet my new group. The record that we was hearing, they was mixing. Mama said, knock you out. So that was my first time in the House of Hits. So I looked at Funk. When we saw it was LL, I looked at Funk and Jazz, like, whispered to him, like, we made it. Because L was our idol. L was my idol. So we meet him, and we meet the engineer, Frank Heller, who was mixing the record at the time. We go upstairs. Beautiful living room, gold and platinum records all over the place. Kitchen. Turn to the left, go into the Studio C. Heavy D sitting there listening to beats. So another icon.
Yeah, man.
That was our first experience in the House of Hits, man, and dealing with Marley Marl. It was just, like I said, it was a euphoric feeling, man, because something that you always dreamed about, you now have in your clutches, in your grasp, it hits differently. It's almost surreal, like you don't believe that it's happening. So you just got to live in the moments, man. And it's funny because when I talk back the moments, it takes me back to that place, and I look at it differently than I actually was when I was actually in it.
Really? How so?
I feel like when I was in it, it was, males or human beings, period, right? Like our minds don't fully develop until we're about 25 years old, especially men, maybe women a little earlier, 23 or something like that. So for me, I was just living in the moment. I felt like this all was supposed to happen. I felt like anything that I said that I was going to do, I would do. So I felt like this is just something that I talked about, and it's here. And I think as we get older, we lose that confidence because of obstacles. We lose that belief because of obstacles. You know what I mean? Like the obstacles get tougher, they get harder, they get further, they get taller. You know what I mean? They get deeper. Right. But when we're young, we have no care.
Yeah, we don't overanalyze anything.
Right.
Yeah, we don't overanalyze nothing.
Right. We don't have the experience to have to even understand what the failure is dealing with that level of thing. You know what I mean? So you just do it. But by you doing it, you accomplish a lot more. So that just
Yeah.
shows you, even as we become adults, that just shows you, even if you just show up and do the work, you will be further than you were yesterday. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And you will get a lot of
preach,
different things done.
preach, preach. Now, how long were you at Shaw University?
We was there for about 3 years.
Okay. How do you think being in college kind of prepared you to be in the business,
Well,
or just really that being in the business and life? You know what I'm saying? Just kind of balancing the both of them.
man, that's a big question, because there's so many different moving parts to my life, right? And I think there's so many different moving parts to a lot of people's journey in life. And Shaw University plays a big part. You know, it's a big cog in the wheel, for lack of better words, because it's the launching pad for the way I think in a lot of different ways. It's a launching pad for what I thought my manhood was, and what I then started to understand what it really is. You know,
Yes.
so um, it's a place that was the introduction to a lot of people who are not just friends for life, but they're more like family. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, but then there's a place in Newark, New Jersey that feels the same way like that, you know. And then there's another place with Lords of the Underground traveling on the road and moving about the world that feels like that too. So I think that it wouldn't be fair to just give Shaw University all of that love when
Right.
there's so many different moving parts that make up the whole of me.
Right. Right. It's just a component
Right, right.
to
And
many
it's a
other things.
very important component,
Right.
but it's not the totality of who I am.
Yeah. Because all the cogs on the wheel matter.
That's right. Facts.
Wow, man. You really. So did at any point did you be like, this is not going to work? And what did you do to work through that mind state?
Man, that's a great question for me, Al. I'm gonna tell you why too, because like I said, when I was younger, I didn't believe that nothing would not work. I don't know where that youthful feeling or that youthful thought pattern comes from. And maybe all youth feel that way. I think
Hmm.
when you start to meet obstacles that are, you know, at every level, there's different devils, as they say. At every level, there's a different grind, there's a different hustle, there's a different step to overcome, right?
Right.
And they always get harder and harder. So when you're very young and you're going through these things that appear to be obstacles, you know, the tough, not everybody, but the tough, the rough, the people who are willing to work, they, you know, in single bounds, they leap these obstacles. And they feel like they can do that with everything in any issue and any matter. But as you start to get older, the obstacles grow a little bit. They, like I said, they get harder to overcome. Not that they can't be overcome, but they get harder to. So when you start having those hard bearing experiences, it make you think differently. Like,
Hmm.
oh man, maybe I should jump higher the next time. Or it can cause little cracks in your confidence where doubt can seep in. And that happens to anybody. You know what I
Right.
mean? So when you start having those doubts, it lessens your opportunity to be victorious, because you know doubt drags you down. Doubt is an anchor. Doubt pulls you down. But when you have no doubt, it's just clear through the runway. You know what I mean? It's a clear runway.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just my opinion of living life and going through my experiences. When you have those experiences with the harder obstacles, it makes you think differently. It makes you think more, instead of saying, forget that, we can do that, we didn't make that time, let's do it again. Let's, and some people think that way, and that's why they have great successes, you know.
Right.
But not everybody. When you have to think and you have to go through your experiences to get an understanding, it becomes a little harder than when you were younger and you should just breeze right through it.
Mm. Yeah. 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 You nailed it with that one. That makes total sense. Now you become a councilman in Newark, correct?
Yeah, not yet. I haven't became the councilman yet, but I'm gonna take what you said and we're gonna talk it into existence. So I'll
There
take
it is.
that.
There
I'll
it is.
take that, man. The next councilman of the West Ward of Newark, New Jersey. And you know, it will be a super honor for me, man, because it's the neighborhoods that I grew up in. It's the neighborhood Redman grew up in. It's the neighborhood Rod Digger grew up in. Ella Sensei grew up in from the Artifacts, and Queen Latifah. You know, her
Right.
family and my family spent the same times on Littleton Avenue, and you know, it would be an honor because these are the parks, these are the corridors, these are the places where I did my first of first things. You know, these
Yeah.
were I lived moments that I believe that I was unstoppable, you know, and God just kept me covered.
Now let me ask you this. Like mentally, because I don't think a lot of people can make that transition going from a star to a servant of the people.
Mm.
What motivates you to want to now be a servant and serve your community?
I was talking to a friend of mine and we were talking about leaders and we were talking about shepherds, right?
Right.
And I feel like leadership comes with a lot of responsibility, but leadership can be given to you too. And I think when you become a shepherd, you know, you can galvanize people, not just who are under your leadership. You can galvanize people from here and far away, and you can lead them off of what they want to do, off of what they agree with, to whatever the promised land is that they believe is the promised land. You can lead them to victory. You know what I mean? And the shepherd
Yeah.
just carries a stick sometimes and says this way. He's not
Yeah.
really telling them what to do. You know, he's
Yeah.
not telling them if you're hungry, stop and eat that pasture of grass. You should know if you're hungry, stop and eat that grass. You
Yeah.
know, I'm going to lead you to where the water is, so make sure you drink it when we go past it. You know, I'm going to lead you there, but I'm going to do it as a shepherd because I'm not going to tell you what to do. We can't tell
Yeah.
our people what to do in the neighborhoods anymore. You know,
No.
we've been pointing that finger with those other three pointing back at us for so long that they don't believe us because the results are not resembling the words and the actions that they brought forth. You
Yeah.
know, so it's not about telling them what to do anymore, but it's more about understanding what they need and what they want, and then talking it out about reality of what's real and what can't be at this moment. Or if we can't figure it out how to get to it, then let's put our minds together and figure it out. How do we get to it? We
Yeah.
have to live here. We have to be here. You know, we have a saying that it's our people, our community, our responsibility. But it's us. It's ours, not just one person. So leadership is great, man, but I'd rather be the shepherd, man, and just point out the direction, just using my
Yeah.
resources and relationships.
And I think that's huge, especially when dealing with the younger generation. I'm not one of them old heads that's always knocking them. I try to understand, where they coming from. Because like I always say, a lot of times it's not so much what a person thinks, but how they think. And, when I do understand, like a lot of kids nowadays, they have different things they went through and are exposed to than when we grew up,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like a lot of it is very detrimental. So when they kind of come off unmotivated, I kind of get it. I mean, like we have a era of kids that just grew up like this,
Right.
literally. They weren't outside racing to see who's fastest and just being out and really being social. That's why I always challenge my kids to stay socially active,
Mm-hmm.
because it feels like they're trying to turn us into robots.
Yeah, I mean, you know, maybe right, maybe wrong. I don't know. Like, I do think though, just from living, man, like I think that each generation grows up with the resources and the education of the things that are around them. So it turns them into that group of people. That's why, you know, I guess that's why they break it down as generations, right?
Right.
Because whatever is happening in your area at the time that you are born, whether that's 10 to 20 years, you're generating what is put inside of you, right? So maybe that's why they call it generations. We can't be mad that our ancestors were taught nothing but labor, work, labor. And what
Right.
in return, the result made them physically fit. It made them physically strong. It gave them a different mentality that if you don't use your hands, you're probably not a man, or if you're not a worker, then you will never get anything done. That's what it produced. It just so happens that it's not these children's fault that they're born in the meta world. They're born in a digital world. They're born with a joystick in their hand. They're born where they have to think and create opportunities just off of thought. Not saying that they didn't do that back then, but but it's more open now. It's more what's the word I'm looking for? It's here for them to grab. Whereas back then it wasn't even created yet. So now you have these children who are creating, you know, we are preparing for jobs that are not even created yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These kids are using, I'll give you a story. My man, he has a nephew, his sister's son. His sister's son was always, I guess he's about 23 or something like that. He was always on the couch playing a game. You know, just playing the game. His mother felt like she couldn't get through to him, so she talked to her brother, talked to your nephew. He brings me in because he knows all of the stuff that I'm dealing with, and maybe that I can spark some motivation in him. I get to talking to this guy, and do you know he's one of the professional players, or he was, I'm not sure if he still is, for the New York Knicks esports team. His mother makes about $80,000 a year. That year that he was going through the issues, he made $85,000 for the year. He got $50,000 for playing online. He got another $15,000 for going to the playoffs. He got another $15,000 for, I guess, championship or 10 or whatever it was. But he made more money than his mother. You see what I'm saying? So it's not about telling these youth what to do. It's about understanding what they are doing.
Yeah.
Because if you don't like something, or if something goes against your belief system, if you think red is the best color and I think blue is the best color, and we go to a party and you look at me funny, that's probably because of the color I got on, and your belief system says that that's whack. So anything in life, if your belief system says that you don't agree with me and I have something that I agree with, we always gonna push against each other. Because you don't believe what I'm talking about, or you don't agree what I'm talking about. So there will always be an underlying issue, even if it doesn't get physical. Same thing with parents and their children. Children grow up feeling like they can't talk to their parents. They can't tell their parents anything because parents are pointing to them, telling them what they should do. Look, I did this and there was a pitfall here. You need to do this. You need to do that. But we really contradicting ourselves as parents because we want young people to be better than us. That's what we always say. We want the young people to do it better than we did it, right? How can they do it better than we did it if we're always giving them the blueprint that we did? That means they're only going to become what we've become, or maybe a little bit higher. Or you might get your 1%, 2% that shoots to the moon. But why not let them try to shoot to the moon themselves with you just giving them direction?
Yeah.
That's it.
You know, and that's where communication comes in. You know, having that open line of communication, because I have a son that's 20.
Right.
And he go through his phases, and I always tell you gotta let him write it out. He has to figure it out. You know, and I always tell him, like, you know, let's sit down and talk about it. And I really like asking him questions like,
there
all right,
you go. There you go.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I asked him about his music. Like, all right, who is this? Where he from? What he talking about? Why you like this? You know what I'm saying? and then I share music with him.
There you go. See, people think just because they talk to each other that they're communicating, but communication is nothing without comprehension. If I talk to
Yeah,
you in Spanish right now, you're not gonna understand what I'm talking about, maybe.
I damn sure won't. I
You
damn
know,
sure
but I'm still
won't.
communicating with you. It's just no comprehension there. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I
Yeah.
want parents to understand too, man. You don't have to love what your children are doing, as long as it's nothing detrimental to their life. You know, they're not, they're not burning the house down or whatever it is. As long as it's nothing detrimental, you don't have to like what your children like. You don't have to. You don't have to like something that someone that you love likes in order to support them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? The love should
Yeah.
be enough.
Yeah.
So if you truly
Like,
love your child, then
cause I know firsthand, like a guy, you know, his son, you know, he wants his son to play football.
mm-hmm.
First of all, his son don't want to play football. And second of all, his son's not that good in football.
Mm-hmm.
But he won't support his son's music. And that's what he loves.
Right.
I tell him, you gotta get behind it. You ain't even gotta like it. Get behind
That's right.
it.
Yo, Al, man, with hip hop, my mother hated it. Right? She hated hip
Mine
hop.
too.
She used to call it the boomity bap music. One time I had this friend, RIP, rest easy to my homie, Rick. But my friend who I was with every day, one day he asked me to take a walk to another neighborhood with him, not too far, maybe 10 minutes away, walking. And he said, I said, nah, I'm going to go in the house and write these rhymes. And he's like, man, you always writing rhymes. So I go in the house, maybe an hour later, my mother's coming up on a bus through that neighborhood, and she sees a lot of people that are related to him, and she sees like his mom and all of the people. So she gets nervous because she knows that I'm with him every day. So she jumps off of the bus and finds out that he's been shot. So she runs. She doesn't know if he's, deceased or whatever yet, but she runs home. I have a Walkman on my ears. I'm listening. I'm writing rhymes. She comes up from behind and grabs me and hugs me behind, startles me, pull off the Walkman, like, what's going on? And she's like, where have you been? I'm like, what are you talking about? I've been right here. She's like, you haven't been outside? Have you been with Ricky today? I'm like, yeah, I was with him earlier. And she was like, he just got shot. And, and start going to her. So I'm trying to run out. She's like, no, you're not going anywhere. She said, that thing that you're doing right now, what is that? I said, writing raps. I said, the stuff you don't like. She said, well, what does it take for you to go to the next level with it? I was like, well, we got to get in the studio. I was like, but it's expensive. At that time, our rent was $650. The studio, there was a special with Ready or Not, Ron, Ready or Not Productions, with my man Ron over in Harlem. He had this television commercial that used to come on real late night. Ready or Not Studio. We got a special, $450. You get 2 songs, and we'll even shoot you a video to one of the songs. So I was like, man, if I get a video and I got 2 songs, man, I could really shop this. So she took $450 out of our $650 rent and supported something. So now look what she did. Here's a person who hates the thing that you do. She doesn't like hip hop, but she still gives you the money to support you doing something that she doesn't like. That's unconditional love. Like that's love. If you have somebody that supports something that they don't like just because you are doing it and they have love for you, that's rock with that person. You know what I'm saying? So
that's a beautiful testimony, man.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Let me ask you this. I know lately you've experienced a lot of losses.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? And mentally, how have you processed this all? Because I know I've heard you speak on like personal losses. Plus, I know the industry is kind of a small circle, and we've been losing a lot of legends. Like how have you been processing all this, and where are you at mentally?
Um, I pray for my mental health every day, man. I really, actually, I have a prayer reminder on my phone that rings probably with 8 to 10 different prayers every day. So
Hmm.
I meditate, I pray every day to myself, and I'm reminded to pray even when and that's one of my prayers. That's literally on my list to, keep me mentally healthy, you know, uh, keep my mental health at 100% up to par. And it's not even just because of the loss. It's because of the all of the energies that I run into too.
Right.
When you knocking on everybody's door in the neighborhood and you trying to find out, everybody has an issue. Like this politics world, as they call it, man, is something different. You know what I mean? And when you're trying to help people, it's really something different. And no way am I comparing myself to these two men, but Martin Luther King wanted to help people, and he still had people that wanted to murder him. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Malcolm X had people, who loved him. And then he had people that wanted to burn his house down with his kids in it. You know what I'm saying? So I pray for my safety. I pray for my mental health. I pray for all of that because it can be tough. But I feel like because of the experiences that I have, because of what I want to see change, because of conversations with mentors and peers and some of my experiences, that I'm assigned to do this by the universe. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like I'm assigned to do this. I just figured that I knew my plan, and God tells you, he makes you run it a different route. I thought I was gonna go up the middle, you know what I mean, shake off the tackle and head to the home. you know.
Yeah.
But God had me run the deep route, cut back in, you know what I mean, and come across for them 7 yarders, them 10 yarders, you know what I mean. Get that first,
Change.
you know what I mean. Oh, you got sacked. Now let me see if you can make up them yards, and it got tougher. Like he made me play the game the way that he needed me to play the game to build me up to become the person to be able to handle it mentally.
Yes. Yes. And that is so important. Just being prepared. Preparation is everything.
Facts.
And sometimes I think we don't realize we're being prepared for something because we get so caught up in just going through it, which is natural,
True. True.
and then when you look back on something, I think that's the beauty of going through things. You look back on something and you're like, I was kind of stressing probably way more than what I should have been.
Oh man. Ooh, I know. Ooh man, I got some stories for myself. You think you not stressing and you are stressing for real. I didn't even
Man.
realize I was stressing, man. I was stressing.
And a lot of times that's how it is, especially sometimes, like in them earlier years and, it's just the alcohol flowing and all that, we just trying to find that escape.
Mm-hmm. See, I mean, the youth has an advantage, man. When you're young, you don't feel all of those things that are hurting you. You know what I mean? You don't feel, for an example, for the men, you don't feel that old wallet pushing you in your butt when you sitting on it. Pause. You don't feel that wallet. Boy, you turn 40, you like, man, I can't even I can't sit on paper in my back pocket. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just like you don't feel certain things when you're young. That doesn't mean that it's not hurting you though. You know,
Right.
you just don't feel it. A slow drip doesn't feel like anything for an hour. But do it for 20 days. Do it for 10 days. Then it start to feel like something. So your experiences, you never forget them. They become part of you. They're part of your luggage. Luggage gets heavy the more that you collect.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
experiences are like luggage. You collect it. You collect those memories. You collect those moments. So as you collect them, they start to get older as you have more of them.
Mm, man, you nailed it. That's a hell of a perspective.
You know,
That's
I think weird, man, but you know,
that's not
I'm just
weird though.
saying how I
It
think.
makes sense. You know what's that? The Erica Badu joint, Bag Lady.
Oh yeah,
Got 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 to lay some of that baggage down.
yeah, man. You gotta lay some of that baggage down. Facts.
Man,
Yeah,
when so when are we gonna see Lords of the Underground on Versus?
man. I don't know when DOS Effects get ready.
And that's what I want to see y'all with. That's what
Yeah.
I want to see y'all with.
Shout out to my boys Scoob and Dre's though, man. They really cool, man, and my dudes. And it's just up to Timmy, man. Timmy and Swiss. Yo,
Yeah,
Swizzy, Tim, let's go, man. Let's get this verses rocking. Lords
yeah.
and DOS. We do it right at the Prudential in Newark, New Jersey.
And that's where I really want to see Versus go. For me personally, as a hip hop head, I kind of see where it's going, but I'm like, let's get back to some of that real hip hop.
Yeah, man. I would love it, man. Shout out to them for doing the verses too, man. And shout out to Marley Marl and Pete Rock and DJ Premier because those are the two that really started verses to me. And what I mean by
Really?
that is that they used to always have battles in clubs overseas. So people would book Marley Marl versus Pete Rock.
Mm,
So they would play all of their records that they produced against each other in the club. And had the club going crazy. Because that's verses, right? It's the template of verses.
let's go here with it. Let's go here with it. Because in the late 80s, I was living in Stamford, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
So, Red Alert, Molly Mall.
Yeah.
That was verses.
That's verses,
Especially
man.
back then.
That's verses. But you know,
I
shout
never
out to
thought
Timmy,
about it
shout
till
out
you
to
said
Swizzy,
that.
man. You know?
Wow. That's what's up, man. My brother, any closing words to encourage my people?
Man, I
Just
just
let
want to say, man, thank you to everybody that has supported me in any and everything. If you watched the video on YouTube, if you bought a record, if whatever you've done, I just want to say thank you. Um, and if you know anybody in the Westwater, Newark, New Jersey, make sure May 10th, 2022, they go out and vote for Dupre Kelly. You know, we have the opportunity to become the first platinum selling hip hop artist in the United States of America to win elected seat in a political office. Shine got the world title, so shout out to Shine. You know, and what that means though, I just want to let people know what that means. Like that means it's not just for Newark, New Jersey. That means one of your own will be in office, no matter where it is. So now you can utilize Newark, New Jersey as a blueprint for your city. There's so many things that we can do as a collective. So you can go to put it up here, www.duprekelly.com. Put it up here real quick. I don't know how to pin it anymore, but duprekelly.com. You go to check out everything that's going on with the campaign. And Lords of the Underground, I can't wait to get back on tour with them. But I thank my brothers for allowing me to run my race because they're missing out on a lot of money because of me, you know, including myself because we're running the race, but we're going to get back at it. And I just thank my brothers, man, Funky Man, DJ Lord Jazz. And I thank my team, man, the Mayor Raz J. Baraka, my entire team, 211 Community Impact. You know, it's a beautiful thing, man. And all of the residents and the people of the West Ward and all my Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated brothers too, man. So
That's what's up, man. It's a beautiful thing watching hip hop grow up and mature.
right.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, that is beautiful. Man, Mr. Do It All, that's doing it all. My brother, thank you
Thank you.
so much for your
Thank
time.
you, man. Thank you for the platform. I appreciate it.
No problem. I'll be in touch when something's going on. Oh yeah, we also have a HBCU weekend here in Canton, Ohio.
We just had ours this past weekend in Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you know they moved the Black College Football Hall of Fame into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Oh, nice. Dope. Dope. Y'all rocking out in Canton, man. I gotta come hang out with you in Canton, man.
There it is. We'll make something happen.
Let's do it, man. For real.
My brother.
Let's get us out there. Get me out there, host a party or something, man. Let's make it happen.
There it is, for sure.
All right, bro.
All right, one look.
Peace.
Yep.